Again, thank you very much for coming today. So today, inshallah, we will complete the last part of the Mudarabah standard. Then we enter into a new standard, which is the Musharaka. So, alhamdulillah, we are moving as planned. Every week we have a new standard. That we try to compare with between AAOIFI and BNM Shariah Standards. So last week we basically, just that the last part of the Shariah Standard, the Malaysian Shariah Standard provided some structures of Mudarabah. And those structures are mainly the ones practiced in the market. Before we go into those structures, I'm not going to spend much time on that, but we should know that this Mudarabah concept is used in some products. The most important product would be the investment account, the investment accounts provided by Islamic banks on the basis of Mudarabah. I'm sure some of you may be investing already in those accounts. In some banks like Bank Islam, Bank Muamalat, all the banks basically provide the so-called investment account. That's why when you go to banks, you find that table, like an electronic table, some of which are mainly for unit trusts, but unit trusts are mainly based on Musharaka. But for Mudarabah, there is no such a table for the customers. But they will tell you, the staff will explain to you the concept, alaikum salam, the so-called profit sharing and so on. So it is used mainly in Mudarabah. Is it used in big projects? Definitely no. So far, Islamic banks do not inject capital in, let's say, mega projects or infrastructure projects, right? The main reason is this. Whether you are a customer or the bank itself, both are scared, both are worried. There are some studies that try to measure the appetite of customers. Customers are of two categories generally. We have risk takers and we have risk averse. There are customers who would like to take risks. That's why they invest in Mudarabah accounts. I'm talking about Islamic banks. So they firmly believe in the so-called high return comes with taking high risk. So the more risk you take, the higher return. But of course, they have to choose the investment, secure investment, protected investment, and so on. Other category are risk averse, those who don't want to take the risk. So they want, that's a fixed income. Let's say they only invest in fixed income securities because they know, like GIA, government security based on Mudarabah, that security guarantees fixed income because it's based on Mudarabah. So there is no issue about it. But some securities based on Mudarabah, it depends on your appetite. If you want to take risk, go for it. If you are risk averse, go. But this is the nature of investment. So the customer, most of them do not choose Mudarabah. Now, how about the banks? Why banks do not inject capital into projects based on Mudarabah? Some Islamic banks, some scholars, some practitioners criticize Islamic banks for not doing Mudarabah. So one of the reasons, high capital charge. So whatever capital you inject into the venture must have a capital charge for it, which comes rate with it. Is this the only reason why Islamic banks do not invest in Mudarabah, or high risk? Then?
Principal non guaranteed.
What's that?
Principal is not guaranteed that you can.
Of course, which is the risk, high risk.
Monitoring costs, low enforcement, contract enforcement.
Again?
Monitoring costs,
The cost.
there are contract enforcement, depends on the law,
Yeah.
how they protect the property rights.
Yeah.
Information asymmetry.
Information asymmetry. But there's another element which forget about banks. You have a capital. Let's say you have 50,000 ringgit, and you know that there is an expert in the field. You know that it's better to invest this amount. I mean, financial planners will always advise you to invest. I remember when I took this financial planner certificate, so the instructor was saying, please invest. Whatever money you have, try to have a fixed income. It's like a buffer money, so you just leave it like a reserve. A percentage of your wealth, invest it. But don't just go invest. You have to really do kind of a market survey, seek an advice. In Mudarabah, we say, find an expert to do it. But the main issue here is about the trust, the moral hazard. You have the money, but the moment you give it, before the venture, it looks, after due diligence, you feel like you have found the right investor, the right mudarib, the right expert, and the market looks somehow conducive for you to start this venture. But after the venture begins, then you start discovering the real economic situation, because your money now is being tested. The capital is injected already, and now it's being tested in the market. So, not many people have the courage to invest. Studies have been made on Islamic banks on the main reason why they do not use Mudarabah. One of the main reasons basically is the risk, the moral hazard. Banks do not trust. They have no full trust in the mudarib, who happens to be a person, a company, even though he holds very good titles like expert, I don't know. He may come with a good CV, with a good credentials, but they can be inflated. There could be some things which are not transparent in that, So banks, at the end of the day, they don't go into that. So how to encourage Islamic banks to do that is another topic. The standards do not talk about these kind of issues. The standards simply provide what is permissible, what is not permissible. Okay? Yeah.
So what's the solution for the moral hazard?
Until now, unfortunately, no Islamic banks has trusted any investor. They haven't given the capital. One of the scholars by the name of Najatullah Siddiqui and some others have tried somehow to talk about protected Mudarabah investment. We need to protect this Mudarabah. He did not mention any instrument how to protect that capital. Other scholars, like, what's his name, the famous Nazih Hamad. Have you ever come across this name? One of the great jurists in the modern world, in Islamic jurisprudence, Muamalat, is Nazih Hamad. Nazih Hamad has a theory who has well substantiated it, but it was not welcomed by the majority of scholars. He is of the view to allow capital guarantee on the basis of shart, condition. Meaning, I have the capital, you are the expert. We can agree that if this venture fails, you as an investor guarantee it. on the basis of condition, provided we separate, provided this is on your full satisfaction. Okay? This looks like capital guarantee, which goes against the very concept of Mudarabah. Mudarabah should not be guaranteed, right? But he says, okay, what if the other party, who is the Mudarib, agrees to it out of his own will? Nobody is forcing him. He says, okay, I can guarantee this capital. But he says that is after, it has to be documented, that we enter into this Mudarabah, okay? Provided you agree to compensate, to guarantee the capital if there is any loss.
Then it's wakala, right? It turns to the wakala in this case.
Wakala is when he gets his fee, wakala fee,
Yeah,
regardless of the outcome.
And if also there will be like profit, which hits the limit, you can get some, how do you call it, in the reward for
Incentive?
incentive.
Incentive, yeah.
Juala.
Juala, yeah.
Wakala juala
This
is
performance fee.
This is basically the Mudarabah Shah. Like very similar to Mudarabah Shah, isn't it?
Mudarabah bishart is meant to guarantee the capital. Even though there is no profit, but capital must be guaranteed. Wakala, there is no juala. The outcome is not guaranteed. Even wakala bil istismar, wakala investment, the outcome, which is the profit, is not guaranteed. You can even lose the whole capital.
But the principal guaranteed, right? And
No.
not the
Wakala bil istismar, which is wakala investment, it is based on risk, completely based on sharing the risk. But here, if the capital is gone, of course, the capital provider will be the losing side. But the wakil, who is the investor, should have got his wakala fee, wakala investment. He has the right. They can still do it on juala basis. This is if you realize, let's say, 6% of the return from this venture, then I'm going to give you, let's say, 8% instead of 6%. These 2%. Let's say we agree that the expected return 6%. But I say, if you get 8%, that 2% is for you, as juala for you, as an incentive. Yes.
What the scholar named this contract, it still will be Mudarabah?
The majority says no. As long as capital is guaranteed, it is not. It is a loan.
So that's
It's
why,
a loan.
If it's guaranteed, so how we say it's Mudarabah?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. His ijtihad, Nazi Hammad's ijtihad, has not been accepted by the majority of scholars. His main view is basically to encourage Mudarabah, because he says if we do not satisfy the capital provider, then how are we going to how are we going to encourage Mudarabah? No one will give you capital if the risks are high.
In this case, Prof, Mudarib can be investor and Rabbul Mal can be bank.
Yeah.
So the same case with riba, fixed interest, the same case.
So in the context of bank and customer,
Yes.
what do you mean same case?
In the case of Nazir Hamad, the fixed guaranteed capital will be compensated by investor, Mudarib. But at the end of the day, if he lose, he will have to compensate the loss from his own money.
His own money, yeah.
But in normal transaction with bank and investor, investor will take credit from bank and will have to make fixed interest. Whether he lose or win. The same case. The objective of Nazir Hamad is to encourage the Mudarabah contraction, but at the same time to encourage the interest transaction. The same case, I think.
It's the same. I mean, if we take his view, it is a loan with interest. Because you are giving, as if you are giving a loan to somebody, and he is guaranteeing the capital.
But
That's why
there is fixed interest in this either.
There is no
The
interest.
fluctuation of return.
if he guarantees the capital, of course, there's interest. But well, I mean, there's no interest, but it is a loan. At the end of the
So
day,
then it's card.
it's card,
It's
yes.
basically card.
Yeah.
Again with incentives in terms of profit sharing.
Yeah. Unless, look at this scenario. The bank as capital provider gives this capital to an investor on Mudarabah basis. Okay? Sorry, let's say the other way around. The customer, as a capital provider, gives his capital to the bank as a Mudarib
Investment account.
investment account. Okay, just tell me your view on this. After the venture has failed, assuming there is no profit, the bank has said, okay, I am willing to impair the capital, sorry, to restore the capital out of my own will. What do you think about this?
It was precondition.
It is not precondition.
Like Hebrew?
Suddenly, the bank says, I'm willing to top up, to restore the capital. You gave me 100,000, I'm going to give you back 100,000.
It's not his will, so it's not condition that should be.
Okay.
But and if it's not off again, it's not became like recurrent that people know that there is investment.
Very good point. Very good point. Because some practices start very nice like this.
Yes, yes.
It looks so generous from the bank, but as they become a customary practice, then it turns into
Like being
something suspicious. Just like in Sukuk, in the Sukuk market, when the issuer promises to give a loan to the investors in case of a shortfall of the returns, in Sukuk Musharaka or Mudarabah, the earlier practice is that the issuer would promise to give a loan in case there's a shortfall in the returns. So that promise has been questioned by AAOIFI, saying no more promises. Don't give loans. But the actual market is that instead of writing the issuer shall give a loan, they turn it into the issuer may give a loan. From shall to may. Amazingly, 3 days ago, I reviewed a Sukuk issuance, and it's written shall, even though it's a proposal. So I have firmly but requested the institution to remove the word shall and replace it with the word may. This is in case they want to still adopt this. But that goes against the AAOIFI standards because it is no more than guaranteeing capital. Yeah.
What happens now in the banking arena of the Malaysia in terms of investment account under the Mudarabah?
Yeah.
Because no one as a customer will bring their money if they know that their capital, their principal is not guaranteed, right?
Yeah.
So any solutions how to treat this account in terms of principal?
How to solve this is concern of, number one, the main problem, customers know this in theory, but when they go,
They're not ready to.
they simply do not accept the fact that I may be losing my capital, 100%. And I have some colleagues, they have invested, walaikum salam. Once they lost, even though it's a small, they did not get the capital. I mean, instead of getting 100%, they got 99%. They were so angry. Even that 1% to them means a lot. And they are right. But they are not right in expecting a return. I mean, in the beginning, they agreed to it. But when they saw it in the actual fact, they feel the, what to say? They feel the pain. I mean, it's a painful thing. You know, now we are talking very nice about profit and loss sharing as an ideal instrument of Islamic finance, right? Okay, how many of us and how many of the people who criticize Islamic banking, which I agree with in most of the cases, how many of them are investing on Mudarabah and Musharaka? How many are taking the risk? I'm talking about individuals, people like you and me. I'm talking about Mudarabah. So that's the issue. You find only a small number of people who are really invested. So if they are not investing, we are not encouraging the industry. So this is one of the main reasons why Islamic banks, they themselves, they are not encouraged to go into Mudarabah because not many people are willing to take the risk. Yeah, please.
Guaranteeing the capital of Mudarabah is allowed by third party, is allowed.
Exactly.
Why not the government guarantee this as a third party? Just like the other Wazir al-Damana and the other saving account and current account.
See, that's a good question. Even the government is not willing to take the risk.
But
They should. But on what ground, you know?
No, but in a risk management class, we were told that, like as it was mentioned, Mudarabah is very high risk, so it imposes the capital charge.
Yes.
But at the same time, if it imposes capital charge, how can it be at the same time like guaranteed by the government? Like it's dimensioned, which is already on the basic is wrong.
So, if you appoint a wakil and tell that he will guarantee, what's the one contract is not void?
You mean a third party wakil?
Yes, I appoint somebody to be wakil, and this wakil will be guaranteeing.
Wakil, an agent to who? Let's say, give a clear example. Let's say you are the Mudarib, I'm the capital provider.
And I have another wakil for my representative.
Okay.
And he will be guaranteeing if something wrong goes wrong.
No.
Cannot. Government.
Why? Because in Sharia, wakala, we have a qaida that says, لِلْوَكِيلِ حُكْمُ الْأَصِيلِ. Wakil and the original and the principal person are the same. You and your wakil, whether you guarantee or your wakil guarantee, it is deemed to be as if you have guaranteed. Unless he on his own capacity, he guarantees you. But with a different arrangement. It should be like you are my agent, part of this agreement that if there is a shortfall in the capital, you guarantee it. He can still do that as a third party, completely separate from this.
But they used to
How
do
about government?
Again?
How about government in this case?
The government?
Yes. If
Yeah.
the government is guaranteeing, my view is like you are appointing wakil and making him to guarantee.
Yeah.
He must be appointed, government, the ruler,
Yeah.
is a representative of human people. So as if you are appointing the wakil and letting him do the guarantee, that's what. So how legitimate would be to make the government as third party?
A government can always be a third party if he is not, this is settled. He can be a third party as long as he is not part of the Mudarabah. He is neither the capital provider nor the Mudarib, so he can be a third party. So this is the issue.
But they removed the deposit guarantee factor from the Mudarabah investment. This PIDM, they removed it, right?
Yeah.
There is no longer. So
Is-
that's the problem.
It's not guaranteed, yeah.
It's not the problem that it's guaranteed.
Yeah.
Because we are treating it as a high risk instrument. So we're actually providing capital charge, and this capital charge is already as a certain guarantee to the bank, right? So under the Mudarabah,
Yeah.
how can it will be the high capital charge? Because it's also
So you are saying the capital charge is a form of capital guarantee because whatever amount we have
We should, yes.
should be,
Provisioning.
there should be a provision that is equal to it. Which means if you lose,
We still not losing
Yeah.
actually
but that capital guarantee from where? Capital charge is from the bank.
from the bank.
Yeah. That's a good point. Do you think it's the capital charge for that capital is a form of capital guarantee?
But it is, right? It's like securing the position of the bank. The whole point is to make very risky instruments less risky, and to protect the bank and to protect the depositors. So in case if you're failing in getting your return from the financing, you are still able to cover your liabilities in front of the depositors. But like as you said, the whole point of Mudarabah is loss bearing. But you still have the very high capital charge, like 150%, which is very close to the capital guarantee. And at the same time, you're saying that you cannot guarantee, and you remove the depositor guarantee party from the Mudarabah.
So if you have 100,000 ringgit as capital, your capital charge would be 250% of that, which is coming from the depositors. So if you lose the 100, the customer will be losing his capital, is zero, but the bank,
Still can recover.
the issue is the bank is not supposed to earn anything if the capital is not is not restored. The only one losing here is the customer, is the capital provider. So even though, in my view, even though we have capital charge, we still have a loser.
As a customer.
The customer is a loser. The bank hasn't lost anything because it's not supposed to lose in monetary aspects. In Mudarabah, the Mudarab is supposed to lose his effort only. There's no monetary losses.
What about the case of the Maybank Islamic, when they're using in Mudarabah investment account the takaful coverage for the sum, put it on the deposit?
Yeah. Now that is
They also like treating it as a
Yeah.
Securing the customer side.
very good point. The Mudarabah, thank you for bringing this issue. Can we secure the investment via takaful or insurance in the conventional side? In the Islamic side, we use takaful. Do we have such a product to cover a venture, Mudarabah venture or Musharaka venture? You go to takaful ikhlas and say, okay, we have this investment. Please design a product for us, if there isn't any. The aim of this product is to cover the losses of this investment I am having with the bank. So if there are profits, alhamdulillah, no coverage. But if I lose my capital, the takaful company will cover you. Do you think this is a good product? Yes, it's someone outside, yeah. It's a third-party guarantee.
But you still paid into the takaful pool. Still you have invested or you have invested in that pool in 3 years.
But
How it can be considered
how
as
to
third
treat
party
it
in this case?
how it's being treated?
You mean the...
Takaful, you third party.
Yeah,
If you have a share in that pool,
you don't have here. So here, you are contributing monthly or it depends. the closest concept I can see here, it's a third party. Because the takaful company doesn't own the fund. Takaful company is a manager of the fund, the takaful fund. The real owners of the fund basically are the takaful participants. So here there is an agreement that we can use this fund to cover the losses of this investment up to a certain percentage or maybe 100%, I don't know. This is similar, I mean, what do you think about this? Can we cover, can we buy takaful for loans? Let's say you borrow a loan, an interest-free loan. The lender, can he cover this risk?
In practice,
Which is the credit risk here?
in practice, Prof, there are many products for covering the loan.
Yes.
If the person
Yes.
product will compensate the
Good.
credit.
Good.
There is no problem for this. Also, there are many products to compensate the fire damage in the
Good.
factory product. But this is this is Islamic, no problem. But I don't know any product that cover loss and guarantee profit.
Yeah.
I think this is not insurance. And it can't be takaful like this one.
It will be covering, what you were saying, will be covering only the capital, right?
On the capital, yes.
So it will not be covering the profit. It will be covering
Just the capital.
Also, capital can be money, and investor can lose that money with wrong investment strategy. This is risk. But if the factory of investor fires, insurance only for this, should be only for this objective. Others, to guarantee the fixed income or capital like interest from the third party.
Anyway,
that's kafara, isn't it?
Huh?
If third party guarantees the principal.
yeah, it's kafara. It's kafara basically, yes. It's kafara. So this is another area of research. I mean, every session we have a new topic for you. If you are interested to write on it, can we develop the takaful product to cover the losses of Mudarabah investment? So the
BNM said yes.
Huh?
BNM said yes. So basically, maybe.
the technicalities, what are the risks, what we call, how to price this product, the issue of pricing, what are the criteria of underwriting, who are the eligible, players in this product. But basically, when it comes to Mudarabah, it is permissible basically to opt for so-called protection. You can protect its capital. So that protection, one of which would be takaful. Scholars have allowed it, takaful from third party. Also, collateral from the mudarib in case he exercises misconduct or negligence. So it is allowed, as we explained before, that Rabbul Mal, who is the capital provider, to request collateral from the mudarib just in case he is proven to have neglected his due diligence. But that collateral can only be used upon the confirmation of the negligence and the misconduct, without which that collateral must be returned to the mudarib. So that is allowed. Okay, just to move a little, because we have to go to the musharaka, and in the meantime I will take your questions. You have another one?
What would you consider wakala bil istismar?
Yeah.
How is it different from the mudarabah?
The main difference would be in mudarabah, the mudarib will only take his profit upon its realization. When they are realized, you take your profit. Let's say 50%. Let's say we got 6% profit, return, on the basis that it will be shared on 50-50 ratio. Okay? Meaning that if there is no profit, the mudarib will get nothing. He will be losing his effort. Rabbul Mal will be losing his capital or part of it. On Wakala bil Istithmar, the agent will take his fee up front. I mean, in most of the cases, he will take the Wakala fee up front, the investment, let's say 10% of the capital. If there are profits, the whole profit, 100%, goes to the Rabbul Mal, goes to the capital provider. If there are losses, again, it will be entirely borne by Rabbul Mal. Provided the investor, what we call the investor who is investing this money, not the capital provider, the wakil in this case, has not neglected or is not found to have committed any misconduct or any negligence. The moment he is found to have done that, he is supposed to guarantee the capital. Remember, guarantee is only for the capital, not for the profit.
So how much is different from ijara? How much it is different from the ijara?
Ijara. This is based on ujra. This is called ijaratul a'mal. It's the same. We call it wakala, but wakala to do what? To perform work. It can be ijaratul a'mal, so I hire someone to invest it, to invest my money. Actually the same. But it's only ijaratul a'mal. Then we have the other type of ijara, which is the ijara of assets, ijara of... Okay, now...
Sorry, I have a question. Is it permissible to give a fee for kefale?
No. According to the majority of scholars,
in the
no.
insurance case...
Yeah. But I have to mention, in the Malaysian context, it's okay. Yeah.
Okay. In the insurance case, the investor or the borrower have to make payment for insurance product. Regarding kefale, guaranteeing the investment capital.
Again, I didn't get you. Sorry.
In the previous example, insurance the company can give guarantee for capital, but insurance company also will take fee for this guarantee, for this kefale.
The premium.
Premium.
Yes.
Is it permissible?
Oh, here you are referring to the legality or legitimacy of insurance, whether they are allowed or not. So this is an entirely different topic, but to answer your question, they are not allowed to do that. Conventional insurance, from the time they enter into the contract to the premium they take, is all Sharia non-compliant from the Islamic perspective. Okay, with the exception of few scholars who have no problem with conventional insurance. They allow it. And these are great scholars. But the majority do not say it so. So the premium taken is actually not permissible. The whole contract of insurance is not permissible. Why? Because it is based on the element of uncertainty. I am paying premium for a return which I'm not sure I will get or not, for a coverage which I'm not sure it will happen or not. Not only that, I'm not sure how much indemnification I will get. I mean, the claim, when you claim, number one, you don't know when you will claim. Number two, you don't know how much claim they will give you. And number three, you don't know whether you will be alive by the time your policy, during the life of your policy. Probably you will die before the maturity of your policy. So there are a lot of uncertainties, and because it is a contract of exchange, so you are buying coverage, contract of exchange require that both value and counter value must be known. Here the value is known, which is the premium, but the counter value, what are you getting, is not known. You don't know when you will get it, how much, and maybe you will not get it because you haven't done any accident. This is in general. In life, you may have survived the certificate. Let's say you buy 20 years coverage. You will survive the 20 years. After 20 years, you don't deserve, but you have paid a lot of money across or over these 20 years. Where is your money? You have paid for something you didn't benefit from. This is the uncertainty scholars are emphasizing on. Okay, let's move to the.
For the takaful case, linked to the Mudarabah.
Huh?
Then for takaful,
Yes.
for example, for takaful or Mudarabah, what do you think? Who should be paying the contribution? Is it Rabbul Mal or Mudarib? Or it can be both?
If we actually, it's the venture, the Mudarabah venture. As an entity, we have the capital, because once the capital is injected into the venture, as if we have an entity, a new entity called the Mudarabah venture. It is the one that starts, when it has to be defined from the legal point of view, so it's an entity. So we deduct an amount from that entity and we pay. It is part of the cost. It's part of the cost. So this is if we allow such a thing. That's why I'm saying this needs some research to look at it from all perspectives. Because who is here really taking the risk? Who wants to be covered? Is it only the capital provider or the bank, or the venture itself as an entity is seeking protection? Okay. Before you ask me any further question, which I appreciate very much, these are some of the, of course, I took a snapshot with my handphone, that's why the picture is very, is very primitive. It looks like a picture taken in the 40s. But the Musharak one is lighter because I own the light. So just focus on the content. Huh? So here, the investor as Rabbul Mal. Investor places fund to the IFI, which is Islamic Financial Institution. Investor shares profit. Now, the Mudarib himself, this simply shows the two types of Mudarabah that exist, the RA and the UA. Then what is the RA? Yes, restricted account and unrestricted. So if we place an I here, it becomes, no, between the U and the A, we place an I. UIA, exactly. And just, so Mudarabah is of two types. What is the difference between two? Yeah.
The restricted account, the customer is actually says where he wants to invest.
Exactly. He determines the nature of the investment. He says, I want my capital to be invested in this mutual trust named X, Y, and Z, or Z. The unrestricted,
The bank's
yes, it's the bank that determines where this capital should be invested. So a big difference. And that has an effect on the liability, which means if the bank goes beyond the restriction, then it is what? It has to guarantee capital. So this is one of the major conditions. So if the bank does not invest in the way the customer wants, and there is a loss in the investment, then it becomes liable. It has to guarantee capital.
What's the breach of the contract? It's breaching the contract or condition.
There are two things. Breaching the customary norms. I mean, capital guarantee, compensation from the bank should also only be when the due diligence has not been taken care of. I mean, investing in bad investments, for example. And the other one is violating the conditions of the contract. And one of the major conditions now is the restriction. This one?
Yeah. So in this case, is the IFI act as a Rabbul Mal?
Yeah. Yeah, that's provide capital, so here's Rabbul Mal. And this one is a Mudarib. But Mudarib only in this section. Which means if there is a loss, the loss should not be should not be somehow borne or covered from other businesses. It should only be restricted to this. Which means the bank should only, I mean, this is only held liable to this part only. So the bank has no recourse to the other assets of the company. It has only recourse to this. Now, Mudarabah involving multiple Rabbul Mal. Yeah, who is?
Just quick question.
Quick.
Yes.
Please. Let's see how quick your question is. 1, 2, 3.
Does the Rabbul Mal have right to withdraw his money whenever he wants?
Yeah. Last week we answered this question. We said there are two stages. The first stage is when capital is injected and not converted yet into assets. We have to understand that Mudarabah is classified in Islamic jurisprudence as a non-binding. Non-binding means any of the parties can withdraw from the venture anytime they like, but with some conditions. One of the major conditions is the asset has not been converted. Sorry, the capital has not been converted into assets. So the moment it's converted, then he's not allowed to withdraw. Because if he withdraws, you can simply imagine the impact of that withdrawal on the whole venture. Because there are only two parties in this scenario. But we will see in Musharaka, after this, the capital provider, or let's say the contributor, can withdraw, but only upon the approval. He can withdraw any time with some conditions I'm going to explain, because it is also not binding. But on shareholding company, we will see that AAOIFI is very strict, that they do not allow the shareholder to withdraw without the approval of the rest of the shareholders in a typical shareholding company. So we will see that under Musharaka. Another example of Mudarabah is when we have multiple Rabbul Mal and one Mudarib. This is the one which is widely practiced in Islamic banks. Why? Because an Islamic bank is not dealing with you only. It's dealing with thousands of customers. So assume Bank Islam is having this investment account based on Mudarabah. So we have various customers. You, me, Ahmad, Khadija, Ali. We all opt to invest with, let's say, Bank Muamalat, on the basis that Bank Muamalat get 50% and the rest will get 50. This is called Mudarabah Mushtaraka. We have multiple Rabbul Mal and we only have one single Mudarib. So all these investors, who could be in thousands, will be considered as one side, as one Rabbul Mal. And the bank will be considered as one party, which is the Mudarib. And yet, the ratio must be the same. So 50% goes to the bank, 50% goes to the rest. But what is the percentage?
Capital contribution.
Yeah.
Each according to his contribution. Okay, if this has contributed, let's say, 1% of the total return, then he will get 1% of the profit. But 1% from the 50, not from the 100. So the 50 is only for the Rabbul Mal only. From that 50%, this one will get 1%, this one will get maybe 2, will get 3, depending on the capital contributed. That is fair enough.
Is it according to the capital contributed or according to the contract? Because we say according to the contribution that Shariah Madhab comes.
Again?
According to Shariah Madhab, you earn or you lose according to how much, what is your share in the contribution. So it's like silently, let's apply. But in this case, these three Rabbul Mals, they may have different contracts. The earnings they will share according to their contract, but the losses they will share
This is in musharaka. Because if they lose everything, right?
Yes, that's Mudarabah.
Yeah, this is that is profit and loss sharing in musharaka, but here is mudarabah. So this is another structure. Then multiple. Again, this is just an example. So you have here Rabbul Mal. This is like a simulation. Rabbul Mal A has agreed with the Mudarabah 60-40. Right? This has agreed 50-50 and this one has agreed 70-30.
That's what I meant.
This is what you meant?
What about sharing the loss that what I was...
Yes, that is musharaka. But in profit, it is like this. So assuming from that 50%, which is the right of the, no, this example actually is another structure. To be fair with you, there are multiple, 2 or 3 examples of musharaka, mudarabah mushtaraka. It is the one that I have just explained to you. It depends on your capital contribution. This one, we follow the ratio agreed between the bank and the customer. So, assuming we have 100% here.
Here,
Yeah.
the Mudarabah venture is a different venture or the same venture? Because like one of the professors, he mentioned the pooling system, which banks does.
Mm-hmm.
For example, like the pooling
Yeah.
Yeah, the capital from the depositors.
Yes.
And then they put it on the one entity, like they buy shares.
Exactly.
So the earnings, the investment return of this Rabul Mal will be according to the proportion of this in this pool.
Yes.
So is it considered like one pool,
Yes.
one pool, or this is separate entity? For example, Rabul Mal, he's PCI 60-40 because the bank placed his money to this one project. For Rabul Mal to another, for Rabul Mal B another project, for
Yeah.
Rabul Mal C another project.
Separate
So
subject.
is it separate? Is it separate project or it's pooling?
It cannot be pooling here.
So it's separate project.
Yeah.
Can be
Can we imagine by pooling all the capital, then we can get different ratios?
Yeah. So the previous one is
Can
the
it be?
pooling one. The previous slide.
Yes,
PPT
it is the pooling one, yes.
I think
This
in
one,
practice-
huh?
I think in practice it is not possible.
This one.
No, it is possible. It is possible. They do that.
You mean,
But bank can use only one specific
They
project.
do.
No. Yeah, this one is
No, they do through investment accounting platform, right? They do that.
these are, no, these are different mudaribs actually.
finance the project.
The platform, different mudaribs, are 6 banks, 5 to 6 banks, they act as mudarib.
But then how is restricted account works? It actually works based on the different project, isn't it?
Restricted is based on different projects, yes.
So
Yeah.
because unrestricted, it will be like the previous slide when they're pooling.
Yeah.
And for this one, it's more for restricted account.
Okay, assume this is a restricted one. Let's say unit trust A. 100 investors have contributed this, each with a different capital. So can the profit be distributed on different ratios? Or the bank will give option that you want 60-40, I go with 60-40, but I go 50-50, you 70-30. Can that be possible?
If the amount of capital contribution is less, they can offer less.
But it's not linked to the capital contribution.
Can we think of this? It's one, again, it's one pool,
Okay, it's one case.
but different agreements with customers.
Is it fair?
That this is based on agreement.
But
With
is
you 70, with you 40, with you.
it fair? What is the criteria of how you choosing whom you are going with the 70% and whom you are going with
Until
50%?
1,000, you will get 70%. Until
Oh,
50,000,
I
you
see.
will get 5%.
Yeah.
So it's like entrance. Entrance is your criteria.
how many you are entering to the project.
Exactly.
Maybe
The
can be
higher you place in this venture,
Credibility.
you will get 70.
Provision.
The one who puts 1 million is not lower the one who put 5 ringgit.
Also, Prof, this is trade and investment we can bargain with bank for ratio.
But Prof, there is one, I would like to remind one qaida which says profit comes with risk.
Yeah.
All of them is taking same risk, but they are getting different ratio from profit.
Yeah.
So is it fair from this qaida
But
perspective?
the one who is placing 100 ringgit is not like the one who is putting 1 million. The
Mathematically, his proportion is actually balanced with the money he gave into this project, with his proportion of getting the profit onto it. Like this is like large numbers.
no, can we say
Statistically, actually, I think
the same?
is right. Yeah, I think it's-
No, the issue of I'm talking about the risk. The one has taking the risk by placing this big amount of money, 1 million. The amount of risk he's taking commensurate with the profit he's promised.
High risk, high return.
So you are, if you place 100, you are taking less risk. You place 1 million, you are taking high risk. Now the risk is tied to the capital or to the business.
That's the thing. Yeah, that's the question.
But
When they talk about profit and loss sharing,
Yeah.
that is tied to the amount of capital you place or with the nature of the business you are investing.
also, Prof, 1 million for me can be small amount,
Yeah.
but for another person can be big amount. Yeah, this is also issue.
Another variable comes in the equation right now, third variable.
Because what is well known in the issue of risk is tied to the business. Let's say equity. Equity is a risky business. I mean, you may lose, you may. But if you invest in secured investment like government securities, there is less risk. So the issue of risk is normally tied to the nature of the business. But can we extend it to how much capital you place? And we say this is a risk you are taking. And on that ground, different profit and loss sharing, profit ratio are justified because I'm placing high capital. Others are placing small capital. So I deserve 70, they deserve 30. Another issue of research. I mean, this is just to spoil your weekend. The weekend you'll be thinking about these issues. So I want to spoil your weekend. But it's good. I mean, to me, these are very relevant questions. Okay. Proper distribution. You would like to take some time for the break? Maybe you take 5 minutes break if you want.
Yes, please.
Or we can extend it until 5.
You never reject
It will be great.
So what do you think? Okay, let's take some tea break. And we go to Musharaka after this, inshallah.
Investment funds in the one side and investor in the other side.
In capital market
this is
is good.
better than banking practice, I think. With fund for Mudarabah practice.
In capital market, there is no Mudarabah. We only have Musharaka.
But we can.
Unless we are talking about Sukuk Mudarabah, yeah, we have Sukuk Mudarabah which are tradable.
But can
Equities we don't consider as Mudarabah.
Equities, if you invest directly in the capital market, it has to be on a Musharaka basis. But there could be some unit trust using Mudarabah, which means they buy the shares. I mean, they use the capital of the investors and they buy the shares. This is the asset. So Mudarib is actually practicing Mudarabah, but the asset is the shares. But I don't know any of the unit trust using Mudarabah as But if you go and appoint a broker in order to invest in the capital market, it's mainly buying shares, buying and selling securities, which will make you, by holding the security, will make you a partner. So any new share you buy, you are a partner of that entity. When you sell, you are out of the partnership, and so on.
Can we see of real investment funds as a Rabbul Mal?
Real estate?
Real investment funds, can we see as a Rabbul Mal?
Real investment fund.
Funds, yes, in capital markets.
Yeah.
Can we see as a
No.
Rabbul Mal?
If they are managing the fund, no, they are Mudarabah in this case, or manager, or wakil, agent on investment. You are talking about a typical investment fund,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's mainly on wakala. I mean, the existing. Let's talk about investment funds, investment structured or structured investments. Well, they're also called investment linked. The main role of the manager is agency. He's an agent. So he receives the fund from the investors,
Yes.
and he invested according to the terms and conditions. He will get his fee, and that's all what he gets. If you talk about structured investments, I mean the Islamic structured investment is mainly based on wakala. Okay, let me go to musharaka. Okay, this is